I'm Julieanna Hever, plant-based dietitian and author of The Complete Idiot's Guide to Plant-Based Nutrition and the soon-to-be-released Complete Idiot's Guide to Gluten-Free Vegan Cooking, who I co-authored with the very talented chef Beverly Lynn Bennett. So tonight, I also have with me associate producer and sous chef extraordinaire, Robbie Barbero, and he's going to be feeding me your questions. So speaking of which, if you have any questions, just type them away in the chat box, and I will answer as many of them as I possibly can. And there's a really cool special tonight. If you go to www.forksoverknives.com, you'll get 15% off all the products. So just type in the code LIVE15, that's LIVE15 at the checkout, and you'll get 15% off for the next 48 hours. So I am not a chef, but I want to show you how to make an entire Thanksgiving feast that's 100% whole food plant-based. No oil, no sugar, no processed foods, and no animal products right here tonight. So we're going to make what's on the menu tonight. I'm going to tell you in the order. By the way, the menu and all of the recipes are going to show up in it's going to be a link in the feed, in the chat room, and it'll also be on the website later, right?
Right.
Okay. So what are we going to make tonight? We're going to start off making a stuffed acorn squash, and then Tempe Italiano, which is from the Gluten-Free Vegan Cookbook. And after that, we'll make what's going to be after that one? We will make a fall harvest chowder, and then a berry apple relish, and a kale salad with maple mustard dressing. And we're going to top it off with chocolate chip pumpkin muffins. You guys ready to get started? I am. Okay. So we're going to start with the stuffed acorn squash, just to make it real festive. And I'm going to show you how to make a bain-marie, which is a French word for a water bath. So we're going to grab the squash, which I already had my husband cut because I'm warning you that it's a little dangerous to cut them. They're really hard to saw off, but I'm sure most of you have better chef skills or knife skills than I do. So you're just going to put about a couple centimeters of water in an oven-safe dish. The reason for this, and that's my dog peeking up. I don't know if you guys could see Latte. Say hi, Latte. He's the clicky-clacky you're going to be hearing. He's also my other sous chef. So that's it. You just flip them over after you cut the top off. And I cut the bottoms off because they're kind of round. This is a carnival squash, but they're similar. And if it's too round, it won't stand upright. So I just cut off the bottoms a little bit so they're flat. Okay, I'm going to stick them in the oven. Oh, the oven was preheated to 375. And we're going to cook that for 30 minutes. Set the timer for 30. And then we're going to go and get started on the stuffing. So the stuffing is a rice mixture. It's a wild rice and brown rice and mushroom mixture. So first, we're going to, here's my pot. We're going to heat up the pan a little bit. I'm going to get some water. I'm just going to grab some water to saute the onions in. So you don't need any oil when you saute. You just need water, vegetable broth. There's so many ways to saute without oil. And then you're skipping out on all of that fat that we don't need. So I'm putting in the equivalent. I had a tear fest last night. I decided I didn't want to lose all my mascara in front of you guys. So I cut all my onions last night. So these are 2 onions. We're going to use one for the soup as well. So it's a red onion and a yellow onion. They look the same, but then they were different on the inside. But whatever, it'll taste good. So I'm sauteing the onions on medium heat. I'm going to put some water in there. About 1/4 cup. By the way, I don't measure very well. Again, I'm not a chef. I just kind of go with the flow. And then we're going to get our celery, about 4 stalks of celery and about 3-4 carrots, cut, chopped. And that is another fancy word besides bain-marie. That is a mirepoix, which is kind of like a base for flavors that is commonly used for a lot of soups and stews and all kinds of dishes. So we're going to let that heat up and saute for a few minutes, get soft. Do we have any questions yet, Robbie, while this is sauteing, water sauteing?
Well, I'll tell you, the most common question has been about gluten-free recipes.
Okay, great. Well, I happen to be gluten-free because I'm allergic to wheat. So that's why it's really cool that this cookbook is coming out. We worked really hard, me and Beverly, to find a lot of different ways to make I mean, gluten-free vegan sausages and gluten-free vegan breads and meatless meats and all these really incredible things. It's so easy to go gluten-free if you need to. A lot of people think they need to and they don't necessarily. So make sure you're either really allergic or intolerant before you decide to completely cut it out. But the real evidence for celiac disease, it's only like 1 in 144 people. So it's not as much as people think. But then a lot of people can be intolerant or have an allergy to wheat. Or, by the way, for celiac, it's also, or gluten, gluten is a wheat found in wheat and also found in barley, rye, and oats. Some oats. You could get gluten-free oats. But, so you just can avoid that by, there's so many products now, but just eating there's so many other different whole foods like quinoa, and we're using brown rice and wild rice today. Those are great whole grains. So there's a lot of other grains that you can have while you're gluten-free. All right, so it's starting to get a little bit soft, but I'm going to give it a little bit more time. And you know what? While we're doing this, we could actually start the soup and start that mirepoix since we're doing a double mirepoix at the same time. Same thing. So this is my mom's huge pot, but we're going to do the exact same thing for the soup. So we need our onion again. I'm going to stick the rest of the onion in here. And, but this one we get to cut and chop. So I'm not going to turn the heat on yet. Okay, so for this one, I didn't pre-cut because it's always fun to cut in front of the camera. And we've got 4 carrots. And I'm just going to chop these up like the other ones were. So I got these at my farmer's market this week. I love to go to the farmer's market and stock up on fresh produce. And I love this time of year because all these colors, I love fall colors, the oranges and the reds and the yellows, and it's so homey and cozy and makes you think of the holidays and being with family. So I do love this time of year for cooking, especially. Pumpkin, I love cooking with pumpkin. It's so delicious. And of course, you're getting tons of carotenoids and all these wonderful plant-based phytonutrients. Right, Latte? Okay, so I'm just going to slice these up. And then I'm going to check on the first already running mirepoix, see how that's going over there. Okay. Going good, getting softer. I'm getting close to adding in all the rice and the other stuff for the stuffing. Okay, but I'm going to chop up the carrots in the meanwhile. Nice and fresh. It's so nice to cook with fresh from the farm produce. Smells good, it's crisp, chock full of nutrition. Okay. Again, not a chef. No fancy skills, but no skills necessary unless you're cutting open the acorn squash. Okay.
Now, Amy from Maryland would like to know, what is a good egg substitute when a recipe calls for eggs?
Good question. Okay, well, there's a lot of substitutes for eggs. You can do flax eggs, which is something I just discovered recently. It's really good in baking, where you do a ratio of 1 to 3 ground flaxseed to water, and if you let it sit, it actually turns into really like an egg-like substance. And then what else for baking? You can use, there's egg replacer if you're not gluten-free, because actually there is egg replacer that is gluten-free as well. So you can find an actual egg replacer powder that you can mix with water, and that will turn into a very similar substance that you can bake with. Okay, this one's getting ready here, so I'm going to get ready to add the rest of the ingredients. So now we're going to add the rice. So this is a mixture of 3/4 of a cup of wild rice, which by the way is a grass. It's not really a grain. And then the rest is 3/4 of a cup of brown rice, short brown rice. So I'm pouring that in on top. And then I need, what else? The mushrooms. Okay, so this is about a cup. These are baby bellas, but you could use any mushrooms. I actually used shiitake once, and those were really good too. Any kind of mushroom you like, just add them in. And what else do we need? we need, oh, our seasonings. Okay, so this is poultry seasoning, which is not made of poultry, unlike contrary belief, and actually sage. So it gives it a real kind of savory flavor. We're gonna mix that in a little bit. And what else do we need? We need our, that's it for now. Okay, so we're gonna add in the rest of the liquid. So I'm gonna put in some vegetable broth. And you could use water. You could use water if you don't have vegetable broth. But this adds a little bit more seasonings. And if you don't, and if it doesn't taste like it's, if you do use water and you want to save by not getting the vegetable broth, then you can simply, you know, mess around, like add a little bit more of the poultry seasoning or a little bit more of the sage. And then of course, black pepper, rosemary might be nice in this. Italian seasoning, like play with your spices and kind of like figure out what works for you. So that's about 3.5 cups. And that's it. And we're gonna let this sit for a good half an hour. But, trick of the camera, I just happen to have the done version right here. So I'll switch this over. This one could cook. And so once that's done, and the acorn squash are done, we are going to stuff them. Thank you. Good sous chef. Okay, so this is the finished product. After later on, we're gonna add, you'll see in the original mixture, we're gonna add in some walnuts and some parsley after it's all absorbed. But you can see, looks like a stuffing, right? Tastes like a stuffing too. I added about 3/4 cup of walnuts, of raw chopped walnuts. Okay, so here's the tricky part. I might wanna get a smaller spoon, depending on the size of the cavity. So we had scooped it out, right? So now I'm just gonna fill it in with the stuffing. And you wanna, evenly distribute. This makes about 4 squashes total. Oh, and by the way, when I took the squash out of the oven, I forgot to say that I took out all the water from the bain-marie because it absorbed what it needed to. And then I flipped them back to top side up. So now you have the little opening. And usually you'll still have some flesh at the bottom. Unlike this one, there's kind of like still an opening, but it's okay. Just be aware so it doesn't fall over your feet. You could just do this over the pot so you don't lose too much. Okay, so we are stuffing our squash. They make a really cute, centerpiece for a plate. I think it's so pretty and festive, don't you think?
Do you eat the skin on the squash?
You can. It gets pretty soft because of the water, because we're absorbing the water from the bain-marie. But you could just flesh it out and just eat the actual flesh of the. It's up to you. There's nutrients in there, more fiber. Who doesn't want more fiber? We all need more fiber, right, Latte? Not you, except for Latte. Yeah, see, and you're dangerous, little guy. He's my biggest fan. He loves all my food, unfortunately. He also likes the kids' vegetables, which is also unfortunate. Okay, I'd rather my kids eat the vegetables. They do. Okay, so we're stuffing them, and you can make them as full as you want. And the neat thing is, even if you don't use up all of your mixture, which sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. It just depends on how big the cavity is of the squash. But you can use this as a side dish, the rice. This is a great side dish right here. Okay.
William from Grand Forks, North Dakota wants to know, could you use butternut squash instead of acorn squash?
Ooh, that sounds good to me. I think you could use butternut squash. I love butternut squash, yeah. I just like the way this fits in the middle of a plate. But I think the butternut squash would be neat too if you just cut it in half and keep a cavity, because you still need to have a cavity to stuff it in. And I don't know if the cook time might be slightly lower because it's so exposed to the temperature. Here it's like inside. You might need to just monitor it. All right, I'm gonna start this, and this is gonna go in the oven. So I need I'll use some vegetable broth since I already have it open. So this is that soup again, by the way. So I'm just putting about the rest of this, which was about 1/2 cup, 3/4 cup. And that was like the equivalent of about one large onion. And then we're gonna finish the mirepoix, thank you. And I'm gonna stick the celery that we cut and the beautiful carrots into the pot too. Oh, save some for Latte. Okay. All right, we're gonna let that cook. And I'm going to put these back in the oven, same at 375, for another like 25, 30 minutes, because you want to make sure it's soft. We've got competing squash in here. Okay. I have an idea. I'm going to get these out of the way. I'll leave them for now. Okay. Okay. So while this is heating up over here, cheers to that. Okay, while this is heating up, I'm going to start on the Tempe Italiano. We're going to make a marinade to put the tempeh in, and it's really, really flavorful. That's what Beverly is so talented at. She creates these like amazing flavor combinations. This is her magical recipe. So we're gonna take out the tempeh just to get it ready, and we're gonna start the marinade for the tempeh. So we need a 1/4 cup of tamari. Now in our book, because it's gluten-free, we did wheat-free tamari, but if you're not wheat-free or gluten intolerant, you could use soy sauce, low-sodium soy sauce, Bragg's liquid aminos, whatever you prefer. It's all good, tastes the same. I just need a measuring cup. I know where it is. All right, so we're gonna get a 1/4 cup of our tamari / Bragg's / soy sauce. And we're gonna start our marinade. So that's 1/2 cup. And, 1/4 cup. And, oh, okay. I found this balsamic vinegar that is incredible. It's so thick, and it has no sugar or anything. It's just balsamic vinegar and a little xanthan gum. Xanthan gum it actually thickens sauces. It's a good way to thicken sauces, but there's a little bit in here. So we need 2 tablespoons of this. Get my tablespoon. Okay. So see, look at how thick this is. Can you see this? Look at that, balsamic vinegar. Awesome. So it spreads really nicely on pasta. You don't have to use this, by the way, if you're, any balsamic vinegar. In fact, this was constructed with regular balsamic vinegar. I just happen to love this stuff and keep it stocked in my kitchen. Okay, and now we need a 1/4 cup of vegetable broth. So back to my vegetable broth. Again, you could use water if you prefer. Doesn't matter. Okay, 1/4 cup here.
Adrian would like to know if it's okay to eat bok choy and Brussels sprouts raw.
Sure, why not? Oh, I love bok choy and Brussels sprouts.
There you go.
And then we're gonna add some fresh herbs, which I put right over here. So we've got, it's about a tablespoon of chopped thyme. This is the first time I ever used thyme. Oh, I was gonna take some out to show you. It's like these long, beautiful, I'm sure maybe you guys have all seen it. It's like woody with these little tiny green leaves. They're so beautiful. And then it's also a tablespoon of fresh rosemary chopped really finely. So we're adding that in there. And then we need, okay, now we're doing the dry herbs. So we've got a teaspoon of dried basil, a 3/4 of a teaspoon of ground fennel seed. I didn't have a coffee grainer, so I just used whole fennel seeds. So it's probably not gonna be as flavorful of the fennel as it would if I had it ground, but you'll still get some of the flavor from it. And then there's also a 1/2 teaspoon of crushed red pepper flakes and a teaspoon of dried oregano. So pour that in there too. And then we're just going to stir it up and let it sit. And then I'm going to prepare the tempeh. So do you guys know what tempeh is? I love tempeh. Oh, garlic. I forgot the garlic. Garlic cloves, garlic press. This is kind of fun. Stick in. It's about 2, 3, I'll do 2 at a time. 2 cloves of garlic, fresh garlic. This really brings out the flavor. And remember that this is got a lot of great raw enzymes in here. And garlic has really been known for antibacterial, antiviral, antifungal, anti-everything. And it adds a ton of flavor. So a lot of people love to use a lot of garlic. Excuse me, pooch. And I'll just throw the rest of it in there too. Since it's so health promoting, it smells really good. It's really fragrant, yummy. Okay, so I'm just mixing up this marinade here. It's really pretty, look. See? Okay, now I'm gonna prep the tempeh here. But while I do that, I think I should check on the soup and see if we're ready to add the rest of it. And I think we are. Okay, I'm going back to the soup and my spoon. Yes. I have one big spoon. Okay, we're using the same spoon. So we're gonna make sure this is all soft. Yes, it is. It's perfect. You can see the onions are getting soft and so are the veggies. So I'm gonna start adding everything in. So now we're gonna add zucchini, some sliced zucchini, fresh zucchini. And 4 bay leaves. This is the first time I ever bought them at the farmer's market instead of in the jar. I used to get them in the jar. Isn't that cool? They just look so neat. So those are the bay leaves. And they add a lot of flavor, but you don't want to break them up because we're going to take them out before you puree the chowder. And you want to make sure that you can get them out. So just keep them full. And you could actually wrap them in, what's that called? Like some gauze. There's like special things you could use for and there's this fancy name that a chef would know, but I don't remember what it's called. And you could put all of your herbs in, then you could just know where it is and just grab it out. But we'll be able to find them. So we're going to stick those in there. And then this is 2 teaspoons, what is it, sage, right? Thyme, 2 teaspoons of thyme. And corn, I need my corn. Oh, the yams. Forgot the yams. Sorry, guys. Okay, let's chop up the yams. And it doesn't matter because ultimately you're gonna be blending it with an immersion blender. So it doesn't have to be perfect or cut equally. I mean, you want it equally so that it cooks unanimously, like at the same time, and it doesn't overcook on one side and not cook enough on the other. So try to make the pieces as equal as you can, but it doesn't matter how it looks. See, like you can see my sides are uneven, but that's okay because we're gonna just blend it later. I do need to work on my cutting skills. I envy those chefs that just like chop, 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 and they make it look so easy and so pretty, and everything's perfectly equal. But again, it doesn't matter that much, especially if it's just for home cooking and you're all just gonna be eating together as a family, which is the best part of the holidays, I think, in my opinion. Okay, that's 1 yam. I'm gonna stick that in, make room on my cutting board.
Paula would like to know a good butter margarine substitute. Is Earth Balance a good choice?
If you're looking for margarine or, yeah, I mean, you can use Earth Balance or the other margarines, but you really don't need to. I'm gonna try to show you how to do oil-free cooking because it really is just oil in a harder format. But, you know, I try to cook without oil because most of my clients, most of my family, most people are trying to keep their weight down or make sure that, you know, a lot of people have high cholesterol and high blood pressure. So I always try to use lower fat cooking or low fat cooking. So I do try to not use those kind of products for when I'm cooking. But, you know, if your arteries are clean as a whistle and your weight is at your perfect weight, then once in a while, that's a great product. Okay, I'm just gonna finish this yam. We are multitasking. We're making lots of things at once. In fact, I've never made an entire Thanksgiving meal in an hour, so this is a challenge for me too. So we're doing this together, right? Oops, see, this looks funky, so I'm going to throw that away. But the rest of it looks good. Okay, so this is gonna be the foundation for the soup, and then we're gonna have corn. So that's what makes it a chowder. It's gonna be like this thick, pureed potato. Usually a chowder has potatoes and corn, like starch, so it's real thick. And it's good, especially when it's cold outside. Very soothing. And this is actually, this soup, I have to say, this is my favorite soup growing up as a kid. My mom has been making this soup for many, many years, and I love, love, love it. And I asked her for the recipe recently. And of course, she made it with chicken broth, and I changed a couple things, but she calligraphied it out for me and made it all gorgeous. So I have it, but I kind of converted it to make it a little bit more my style. Okay, so that's all the main vegetables except for the corn. I'm adding 1 bag of organic corn. And when it comes to organic, I get this question all the time, so I want to kind of just say it. If you can get organic, do it. If you can't, it's still better to have the fruits and vegetables. than even if they're conventional, than to not have them at all. And when it comes to corn and soy, I really recommend going for the organic version because you want to kind of avoid the GMOs, the genetically modified organisms. And for sure, if you take corn or soy, and there's a whole bunch of other ones too, but you're almost guaranteed they're going to have GMO or going to be GMO made if you don't get the organic. So for soy and corn, and as much as you can, but if not, you don't have to have organic to be healthy. It's definitely not true.
Is it okay to add the yams without peeling them?
Yeah, I did.
Are you going to use that vinegar? We want to make sure we get people the...
Oh, yeah, I don't know if it's that easy to find, but you could use any vinegar. And you could actually probably make that if you took the vinegar and add a little bit of xanthan gum, but I'm like a plain balsamic vinegar. And that's something I actually should get back to you all on because that would be a good experiment to see what the ratio of xanthan gum to balsamic vinegar, just the plain liquidy balsamic vinegar is, to get that consistency because it is a really nice consistency for dressings or marinades. All right, so I'm adding another like 3-4 cups. It should be a total of about 6 cups, but again, guesstimation. It doesn't have to be perfect. Cooking does not have to be perfect because if it did, most of us would not have great, It just doesn't always work like that. What's going on over here? All right, okay. I'll give that another few minutes. Okay, back to the tempeh. I did not forget the tempeh. Very excited about this. Beverly's wonderful recipe. Okay, so we can fillet the tempeh. Sounds kind of funny. But you know what tempeh is? Did I ever tell you guys? I think I started. It's basically soybeans that are fermented. So it's really a really different type of texture than tofu. It looks, you could see it's like grainy and nutty. And this one that I have actually has vegetables in it. They have different kinds that have blends with wild rice, and they have all sorts of different ones. This one is made with some vegetables, because why not add some more vegetables? I always love vegetables as much as I could possibly get. So I'm gonna try to, so I slice it in half. It comes like this. And I slice it in half, and now I'm going to slice it this way, through it, as evenly as possible. No latte, not for you. Just to make them a little, see if they're thinner, you're gonna get more surface area to add for the marinade to absorb in. And then we'll do it this way, and then we'll cut it this way. Okay, so that's 8 pieces out of half. We're gonna do that again on the other half, in the middle. This way, it's like in the middle in 3 directions, I guess you could say. And I'm just gonna place these in that very colorful marinade. And then I'm gonna do the other one. So it actually requires 2 full 8-ounce packages of tempeh. So you can see, we're gonna cut in half and slice through, and then slice across, and this direction. And last time.
Is that a special knife you're using?
Again, I do not have knife skills, but I like these. They're made out of some material. They're not like metal.
Ceramic.
It's ceramic. Thank you. It's ceramic. And I don't know why, I just love them. They cut easier for me, but I do probably need to investigate like what the best kind of chef knife is. But it works for me. And I have them, they were on sale, and I bought a bunch, like a whole set in different sizes and shapes, and they work for me, so I love them. And they're pretty because they come in different colors. Who doesn't want more colors in their kitchen? Okay, so I'm basically just trying to coat the marinade over the tempeh. And after we coat it, and it doesn't have to be, again, perfect, but as even as possible. So you get equal distribution and everything tastes about the same, so everyone gets a fair share of their marinade.
Several people would like to know if your dog is vegan.
Oh, okay. Well, he just went vegan this week. I've been wanting him to go vegan for a while, and I wanted to try him on vegan kibble. So we just started. He's 11, and it's been killing me to give him the other stuff. And I try to give him a lot of my stuff, like the vegetables, and I try to cook for him, but I'm a busy mom, and so I feel like I'm on the spot here. But I got him Feed Dog, and he just tried and he loves it. So far so good, and GI is doing okay. So thumbs up for now. I think it's gonna be really good, and it makes me feel better to give him vegan food, but I just have to make sure it's all good. I've heard that it's totally safe for them. Okay, so this is the tempeh. It's all marinated. Now we're gonna get out my baking pan. So these are pretty cool. Silicone baking liners. Don't mind my old beat up baking pan, but this is a really neat way to avoid using tin foil. We're gonna have to use a little tin foil. Oh yeah, I forgot the tin foil. You're supposed to cover the squash with tin foil. Maybe I should do it. Let's just take that out. Again, not a chef. I don't like to use tin foil if I don't have to. But then again, sometimes, you know, I think if you use, I'm not really talented with parchment paper yet. So I just take a little piece of, this is actually a little big, but just wrap it around. Thanks for reminding me. And then we're just gonna cover this. It'll just keep the moisture in a little bit better. So it might be a little drier. So make sure you do this before you put them in the oven. It's in the instructions, fortunately. I'm not reading as carefully as I should. Okay, so, but like Chef AG always says, it's not what mistakes you make, it's how you fix it. And in the kitchen, I think that's especially true. It's all about fixing something. You know, if you accidentally put too much or you do something like this, you just fix it. It'll turn out okay. Okay, all better. Fix my mistake.
Great. John Sanders would like to know what brand of tempeh you use.
Oh, what's it called? Good question. Actually, I have another one in the fridge. I'll check. It's actually just the reason I use this one is it's the only one my store has, but I like it. But I don't recommend a brand specifically. I just like this one. I think it's light something. Oh, you see it in the, there you go. What's it called?
Garden Veggie?
No, that's not the brand. That's the type.
Light Life.
Yes, Light Life. Okay, I'm just going to take out these other ones so that they don't get too dry. Could use these later. Yo, sous chef. Can you open the other top oven for me, please? Thank you, Ravi. Thank you. Okay. We're going to do this without spilling hot water all over the place, right? Okay.
Well done.
Teamwork. Thank you. Isn't this funky? I've got a microwave on top of my oven, and it opens like that. It's very strange. Came with the house. Thank you. Go ahead. All right. So now we're going to lay out the tempeh. So yeah, this is the one I use. It's organic because, again, when you're using soy or corn, I do recommend going organic. You know, that's when you should shell out a little bit more, and it's worth it if you can. If not, I don't know what the other brands are. I'm sorry. But I do love this one, and I do like the Garden Veggie variety.
What if somebody didn't want to use tempeh? Could they use something else?
Oh, yeah. Well, let's see. You could do, I'm sure this would come out pretty good with tofu as well. I haven't tried it. But tofu or even seitan, if you're not allergic to wheat, you can use seitan, which is basically the gluten, the protein from the wheat. So, and actually in our book, we have gluten-free seitan that Beverly has masterminded, and that's another good alternative too. But I love the texture of tempeh. A lot of people don't know what it is, and it kind of scares people, like, what's tempeh? Like I told someone today, and they're like kind of, oh, squash already. That was the other squash that we just removed. But I happen to really love this. And, you know, you could also cut these even bigger and make them even like just the quarters. You know, when I cut it down the middle, you can actually make these into huge pieces. Just depends on what you like and how many people you're feeding. You know, I usually have a lot of people because I don't entertain that often. So when I do, well, I've been doing it more lately, but because I've loved cooking lately since I discovered all of this stuff, and since I've been writing and doing recipe development, I started to really love cooking even more. I never did. I was always like, just make me something simple. I'm very busy. Who has time to make all these really gourmet meals? I love to eat them, but now I'm learning to really love it because it's really easy. You can see, I mean, we're already on our third dish. And how long have we been doing this for? Half an hour? Pretty fast. This is really wholesome too. You'd be surprised. You get so full on this stuff. It's really good. It's easy on the GI tract. Okay, so that's it. So I just basically place these all over evenly because you want the heat to distribute as evenly as possible. And again, you can see the marinade is not perfect, but it'll do. And the herbs are kind of clumping. Okay, so you know what I need to get, and you guys I recommend, because I've heard about it, but I don't have one. They have these little mini whisks that are like really cute. They're really tiny, and it helps you with something like this, like a marinade, to just whisk it up really quickly, and that would be a really good thing for me to get, and you guys too. I recommend. Okay, we're gonna put these in the oven. Find a room in the oven.
What exactly is tempeh made of?
Soybeans. It's just fermented soybeans. That's it. So we're gonna put the timer on for 15 minutes. And then after 15 minutes, we're gonna flip them and do another 15 minutes. So let's check on our soup. How's our soup doing over here? Okay, so it's gonna be cooking for a while, but trick of the camera, we've got a soup that's done. So I'm gonna show you a fancy maneuver that can be dangerous. Be careful at home. This was the soup that I made last night. Same thing. You can see it's boiling. See it? From all the way over there. So I'm gonna take out those bay leaves, right? So I have one. Let me get a spoon. Okay, I'm gonna grab the other bay leaves. I only have 3 in this one, or at least the 4th one disappeared. I couldn't find it before. So there might be some chopped up bay leaf in here. That's okay, so I'm gonna turn off the heat and we're gonna let it cool for a second because the next thing I'm gonna do is like one of my favorite little tools in the kitchen is a immersion blender. And what you do with it is you don't have to, you used to take it out and put it into a blender and puree it and then put it back in. But this fancy thing that's really like 20 bucks or less now is called an immersion blender. And you just put it in and you can blend it without having to remove it. Now, why I say be careful is it will shoot hot, hot soup at you if you're not very careful. And yes, I've done this before. Okay, so it's gonna get loud, hold on. So we want to go for like as pureed a consistency as you like. It's so pretty. It's going into this one blended autumn color. It's really a nice blend of red, orange, and yellow. I like mine like a puree, so I'm gonna go for it as much as I can. Almost done. It helps to kind of take it out and redistribute it a little bit so you get all the big chunks. And voila, that's it, done. And there's like a little release button so you don't have to get the hot soup everywhere. Okay, so that goes here. And then, done with this, I'm gonna show you what it looks like. Okay, here is what it looks like all pureed. Looks like autumn, doesn't it? Fall. And then, because I always add leafy greens to everything, because I love my leafy greens, and I love the expression, let thy greens be thy medicine and thy medicine be thy greens, because these are so health promoting, it's unbelievable. So this is just spinach, baby spinach, but if you have kale or collards or dandelion greens or any kind of green that you like, I think I just got a carrot green, just add them in. And you wanna make sure the heat is off because you really don't want them to get too wilty. You don't want like all the nutrients to leach out. I mean, it'll still be in the soup, so you'll still eat it, but I like to have them as fresh as possible. It tastes better that way too. And what I learned in graduate school was that you don't want to get that drab olive green. And that was on all of my tests in food science class, where you don't want the drab olive green, you want the bright green, and that's how you know that it's not overcooked. So that was the extent of my cooking knowledge that I learned in grad school. Oops. And then there you go. So you had that autumn color, but now you've got some greens. And it'll soften up even more. And that's it, the soup is done. Okay. Now, I'm gonna put this back here. We'll have some later. And switch this over here. We're playing with my stove here, my oven here. Okay, I'm just gonna check on this, the stuffing mixture just to make sure that it doesn't burn my pot. It's still cooking. Yeah, this takes a good like 45, 50 minutes for this is the rice mixture for the squash. It takes a good 45, 50 minutes to absorb all that moisture, but then you get that real soft. You wanna make sure you have a lot of liquid. I would stir it every like 10 minutes or whatever just to make sure you get the rice off the bottom so it doesn't stick. Okay, what's next, Robbie? We're gonna make the berry apple relish.
Awesome.
Okay, will you hook up my food processor? And
sure.
Thank you. So this is based basically off of cranberry sauce, and my mom also This was her idea. She makes with fresh cranberry. She doesn't cook it. You know, a lot of cranberry sauce, most cranberry sauce is actually cooked. But this is a raw one. That's why it's called a relish instead of a sauce. So I'm just going to rinse them. I always rinse your produce. You should always rinse. Okay, so this is just one cup. What is it? I got the organic ones because they happen to have them at 7.5 ounces. Now we're going to just put that, thank you, Robbie, in my food processor. Bright red and gorgeous. And then we're going to get our other ingredients over here. Okay. So these are 2 tart green apples. And you basically are just going to, oh wait, you know what? I'm going to do this first. Okay, so we're going to just puree this real quick. Oh, no. I tried it 2 ways, and I think I like it better when I put them together. So it doesn't matter. So you could either do this and finely chop your apple, like really fine, but if you don't have the knife skills like me, then you can just add it together. So here's how I did it the second time, and I liked it better because it was easier. Don't need fancy knife skills. You just need a food processor and a blender. I love my blender. Love that powered blender, which I'll show you. We're going to make my dressing, my favorite dressing that's based off of Chef AJ's house dressing. It's so good. Okay, so just cut them. I'm just doing a rough chop here, not even a rough chop, just cutting them in pieces. And I'm going to pulse them in the food processor together with the cranberries. So we're going to do both apples. Oopsie. Go for it, Latte. I don't think you like these. Okay, he likes green tart apples.
And we just want to make sure to let everybody know the soup recipe will be added to the website after the show.
Oh, sorry about that. Unless you watched and wrote it all down. It's pretty easy. It was not that many ingredients, actually. It's a quick one. I'm telling you, every time I'm sick, my mom makes that soup for me, and it always makes me feel better when I was a kid. And even now on holidays, she always offers to bring that. I love it. All right, so this is just about good enough. And if it's not perfect, it's not perfect. You guys can make it perfect at home. I mean, you don't have to do it in an hour. Okay. Popping the top on. Okay, I'm going to pulse it so it's not, I don't want it to turn into a liquid. I'm just going to toss it and see how it's going in here.
What suggestions do you have for feeding a 6-month-old baby?
Well, okay, so are you just starting to feed the baby? You know, I could give you some general advice about feeding a baby. You want to make sure that, you know, if you can breastfeed, of course. And then when you're introducing solids, you want to start with one solid at a time. And usually we start with rice formula mixed with breast milk. Or formula if you're using formula. And then you proceed you have to give it like 4 days to make sure that there's no allergic reaction for the baby, and then you want to add one at a time. So we usually start with the cereal, start with the rice, and then maybe go to a barley and go, it's been a few years for me, but you go through just one at a time, and then you start adding the fruits and the vegetables, and they say to start the vegetables first so that the baby's sweet tooth doesn't kick in, but babies, you know, our taste buds are so fresh and pure when we're born. They're just clean, and they just, you know, taste sweet so much easier than we do now after we've like ruined them. But babies do taste like, I don't know if any of you have ever tasted breast milk, but it's really, anyway, babies taste it as very sweet, so that's how pure their taste buds are. So start with the vegetables and then go through the fruits, and then onwards towards after about a year, you know, when they're ready, when you could tell that's a whole other story about when they're ready to start chewing and all that. But there's a whole chapter on that in my book. Okay, that looks pretty good to me. Not perfect, but that's okay. Now we're going to take this and put this into the bowl. Okay. Isn't that pretty? Bright. And it actually, oops, found a chunk. That's okay. Like I said, it's not about perfect. It's about getting the flavors and the textures and the colors. And it doesn't need to be perfect by any means. I have all sorts of, lately I've been having a lot of dinner parties and people that are complete, you know, omnivores, or not, people that just aren't interested in plant-based nutrition or don't know much about it. And I don't really tell them. I mean, people know when they come over, most people know when they know me that that's what they're gonna get. But it's funny because, I'm gonna get a spoon. Without doubt, they always say, wow, this is really good. And they like the flavors. And there's like always an abundance of different recipes and flavors. And there's a lot of options. There's a lot of variety. Unlike what most people assume. Okay, we're gonna do a half a cup. This is 100% apricot jam. So it's just apricots. There's nothing else in there. So again, I'm not gonna measure really perfectly, but we're gonna do about a half a cup. That looks about a half a cup to me. And then we're gonna do a half a cup of maple syrup. I'm gonna do 100% pure maple syrup. So I could measure this. I don't want it to be too sweet. Okay, so this is just pure maple syrup. It's not Aunt Jemima's. It's just pure from the tree maple syrup. And this is about as refined as I get. And here's the magic ingredient. And this is kind of fancy. And this is why I called it berry apple relish, because not just the cranberries, but we add a package of raspberries. It was frozen. They were frozen raspberries, organic, but again, doesn't have to be organic. The other trick about organic, let me say this too. If you're choosing and deciding which fruits and vegetables to choose organic, go for the fruits and vegetables that you're gonna eat, like the lemon. When you're zesting the lemon, you're gonna eat the skin, and that's the one that has all the exposure to pesticides, right? When it's sprayed on top. So if you're gonna eat like a banana, it's protected in its shell, right? Or if you're gonna eat like a pineapple, it's got this thick shell on top of it. So those are the kinds that you can get away with. It doesn't have to be organic. But if you're gonna choose, I would choose the stuff that you're gonna eat the peel, or like an apple, because you're eating the top of the apple, the skin of the apple. That's it. That's our berry apple relish, just like that. We mix it all together. Oh, by the way, the raspberries were frozen and I let them thaw, so they are defrosted right now.
Jazzy Stone would like to know your opinion about agave nectar instead of sugar.
Okay, I do not recommend agave nectar. The reason for that is that it is metabolized in the liver, and it actually has more high fructose corn syrup, or fructose, than high fructose corn syrup. So it's not a health food by any means. It's basically high fructose corn syrup that comes from a cactus. So I don't recommend it. The only sweeteners that I use are dates, and then I turn dates into date paste and date syrup, which we do in both my books, my book and the gluten-free vegan cookbook. And then I use maple syrup sometimes. Those are the only two sweeteners. And today, I'm not even using dates, I'm just using maple syrup. And you could use date syrup, and it's really easy to make it. But this was already made, and I'm trying to make it really quick for today. But it tastes good either way. I love date syrup. But I don't recommend any sweetener, any artificial sweetener, any non-nutritive sweetener, which means it doesn't contain calories, so all of the artificial stuff, I don't think they're good for you. Because first of all, we don't have the long-term studies. And second of all, your brain is expecting to get sugar. When it has that sugary taste on the taste buds, it sends a signal to the brain saying you're going to get calories. And then if you don't, it's kind of messing with your neurological system. And we don't really know what the results of that are long term. And you'll notice that people don't lose weight just by eating artificial sweeteners. And then all those other I just don't like to use the sweeteners. We don't need them. The other reason not to use stuff like stevia and all that is because the sweetness level is like thousands of times higher than actual sugar, table sugar. So you're tricking your tongue to have this need for this sweet, sweet flavor. And what happens is you get on this downward spiral and just these constant cravings for sweetness. So if you just cut them out, all of a sudden stuff like this and stuff like a baked sweet potato is candy. And my daughter actually calls fruit and sweet potatoes candy because she's gotten used to that too. That's it. That's our berry apple relish.
Tracy Stickler would like to know if it's okay to eat avocados daily.
I love avocados. Avocados are high in fats, so people are always afraid of them. But if you are happy with your weight, it's a good whole fat. It's a whole food that happens to be higher in fat, but it's a healthy food. So if you love avocados, eat avocados. Just don't have the avocado oil. Okay, let me check on this thing now. The stuffing, which we're pretty much done with. But then we are going to go to my dressing. We're going to make the dressing for the salad, which is, I literally seek out vegetables that I could eat to put this dressing on. Like, where else can I put this dressing on? Because it's so good. I love this dressing. And it is based off, I have to give Chef AJ props because her house dressing inspired me, but I changed a little bit. So the first ingredient I added here is a can, a 15-ounce can, or you could use, if you can cook your beans from scratch, good for you. They taste even better, but usually have time to cook my own beans, so I just get the can. This is the no salt, just a salt-free cannellini beans. So it's one can of those, and let me get to my cheat sheet over here. And then we're gonna go for the lemons. And that's ready. We're going to have to flip that. So pause for the tempeh. And I'm gonna take these out too. These are probably done. Our squash. Okay, sous chef, I need you, please. Just a place if you could clear in the back there.
The back?
Yeah, just somewhere to put this down, careful. Thank you. Yeah. Can you push this one back too, please? Thank you, perfect.
Do you need this?
Is it empty? Oh, no, we're done with that. Thank you. We could do this. Oh yeah, we could put this up. By the way, I didn't say this. With the soup, you want to bring it to a boil. And then once it gets to a boil, you want to bring it down to low heat so that it can simmer so all the vegetables get cooked. Okay, let's get our tempeh. Oh, it looks really cooked. So now it's interesting because Beverly used a little bit of oil in the recipe. She used a little bit of sesame oil, I believe, originally. And I don't like to cook with oil. And we had some compromises because of that, because she really loves the flavor, and that's fine. And she's at her ideal body weight, and she's happy with that. But because I work with a lot of people that are trying to cut out oil, I had to modify a few of the recipes and gave you the option to do it oil-free. So this one, I just took the oil out. That's the only thing I did different. And now it looks like you could tell that it's cooked a lot. So we're not going to probably need to cook it for the full 15 minutes. It might even be done, but that's what happens if you don't have the oil. If you don't have the oil, you may need to modify the cook time because you don't want it to get too dry. And I could have poured some more vegetable broth to compensate for the lack of oil. And maybe next time, but it doesn't look it looks actually kind of perfect. I might not just put it back in. Got to have some flexibility with the cook time too, because you never know, right? Ovens are different depending on where you live. So I'm gonna probably put this in for maybe 5 more minutes. Yeah, just to cook the other side a little bit. We'll do 5 more minutes. Okay, but it smells really good in here, I think. I can't wait to eat this. Okay, so I flipped them all. Did that one flip? Don't you hate when you don't know which ones you did? Okay. I'm gonna stick these right back in the oven for 5 more minutes, that's it. All right. Voila. Back to our dressing. You have a question?
Well, Jan was asking about the aprons that we're wearing.
Oh, yes.
And just wanted to tell everybody that we are developing prototypes and considering a line of them in the future.
Cool, yes. Okay, another one of my favorite tools is the zester. And I love adding the zest of the lemon or lime because it adds so much flavor. And it's kind of fun, I have to admit. So you're just gonna get the zest and the juice of 2 lemons. And be careful not to shave your fingers, because I've done that too before. Again, not a chef, just a dietitian. One of my favorite dietitians, Brenda Davis, told me she's allergic to measuring cups, and I thought that was absolutely brilliant, because I think I could relate. I don't usually measure. And in Yiddish, they say shitterein, which means just put it in there as much, just a little of this, a little of that, and that's pretty much how I cook. And you know what? Sometimes the best recipes are accidents. Sometimes you find the best dishes by accident, by adding too much of this, or just looking in your fridge and not seeing any, like you don't have anything that you had in mind what you were gonna make, and nothing predetermined, and you just go into your fridge and whatever's there, you whip something up, and sometimes that's the best thing. And then my hint is to write it down because you probably forget. And actually, that's how I came up with the dressings in my book. Same thing. So I'm just zesting a couple lemons. You could probably use limes here too.
Abby from Chicago would like to know what type of water you drink.
Oh, just filtered. I just use my fridge filtered water. Yeah, and I drink a lot of water. I love water. And I have my husband put in my other favorite. I have a lot of favorite tools in the kitchen. For someone that doesn't love to cook, I guess I'm loving to cook even more than ever. But he put this really cool thing in. It was only I don't know, it was really easy to do, and he did it when we moved in here, and it's a hot water heater. So it's actually tapped into the sink, but ideally you have them as filtered as possible, but it's not filtered. But like my husband, who's a pathologist, says that it heats it so hot that it probably kills everything in there anyway. But it's great because then I can have tea all day long. I just put it in or whatever, hot water. When I'm cooking, it expedites the process a little bit. Latte's eating something. Robbie, would you mind checking what Robbie's eating, please? It's probably not something he's supposed to be eating. Gum. Yeah, my dog likes gum. Don't leave your gum on the floor if you visit me. Okay, this is how I do it. This is so, I can't believe I'm revealing this to all of you because this is something I do when nobody's watching me. But this is what I do. This is how I get the seeds out. I know there's fancy ways to do it with your hands, but I always get the seeds inside. So here's my dorky way of doing it, but this is how I do it. I'm being totally honest with you, and I'm really embarrassed. Okay, so I slice the lemon in half. I can't believe I'm doing this in front of people. I don't think I ever have. But it works, and whatever works is good, right? Because these lemons that I get happen to have a lot of seeds. My lemons on my tree, I have this great Meyer lemon tree, but I use them so fast because I love this dressing. And hummus, I use lemon juice in my dressing. So I go through them so fast, so the poor tree is having to replenish. So right now I have to buy them. So that's it. This is how I juice my lemons. Straight into the blender with my big old huge colander. But it's capturing all of those seeds. I also have a juice, the wooden juice thingy, the reamer. I think it's called a reamer, this thing, which I should be using. Yeah, okay. This gets the most, this gets a lot out that you don't even realize is in there. It's kind of cool little tool. Okay.
Cheryl from Waldorf, Maryland would like to know, is soy good for you? And is there a certain amount you can have?
Good question. Everyone asks me about soy, and here's the thing. If you're eating whole soy products like the tempeh, like soybeans, even tofu and soy milk, there's nothing wrong with having like 2 or 3 servings a day. The problem is when you end up with those isolated soy protein concentrates and these massive doses of soy. You should never, I always recommend a plant-based diet, not a soy-based diet. I don't recommend your whole diet should be based on soy. And a lot of people, when they go plant-based, they are really scared. They don't know how to switch over. And it's a process. It's a journey. And my friend Esther always says, travel your journey. And I love that. And I think it really comes to that when you're switching your diet, which is literally like learning a new language. You're learning a whole new language. So the trick is to take it one step at a time and do what works for you. But people think that because they were eating meat and potatoes or their version of it, that they need to replace it exactly. So they'll do like a slab of tofu and their milk turns into soy milk and they're, like cups of it a day. There's our tempeh. I don't want it to burn. But the truth is, yeah, any longer probably would have burned. Okay, good. We're done with this. So in terms of soy, don't have more than 3 servings a day. We don't want a high protein diet. High protein diets are what's getting us in trouble. This is why we're so sick, fat, and miserable, as Dr. Goldhammer says. And I really recommend keeping your protein low. Never go for those protein powders. You don't need them. They're not good for you, and that's what causes chronic disease. It can stimulate all sorts of chronic disease processes. And we're even seeing, we heard recently someone said at the Healthy Taste of LA a couple weeks ago, someone was asking about gout, which usually occurs from people that have too much animal protein, but they actually saw it in people eating a lot of soy protein. So it's because we're eating so much protein. It's the protein. We need to just not worry so much about protein. Just eat whole plants. Everything here, tons of protein, plenty of protein, not too much, just right. So my little trick worked. It's kind of dorky, but it works. So there's my seeds. And I'll get rid of those later because I don't think I need this again. Okay, let's move on to the rest of this delicious dressing. What else do we need? Tahini. Oh, I love tahini. Okay, I get this raw organic tahini. Again, doesn't have to be organic, but what is tahini? It's sesame seed butter. It's literally just smushed up sesame seed butter. And it's got a ton of calcium, which a lot of people are always worried about, but you can get plenty of it. This is actually one of really high amounts of calcium in it, but it's so good too. It's like a nut butter, but it's a seed butter made out of sesame seeds. So I'm going to take approximately, what is it? A 1/4 cup. So what is a 1/4 cup? Let's just say, and I like it, so I might add a little bit extra. But yes, high in fat, but I'm not going to eat the whole thing. Usually. Sometimes I have to stop myself. But the beans, by the way, cut the fat. I added the beans to this recipe because it adds more fiber and it fills it up, and I love that thickness. So I pour it all over my salad, and it stays on the leaves, so you get a lot of flavor in each bite. We also need some mustard. Now I use stone ground mustard, but you can use Dijon mustard or yellow mustard, whatever kind of mustard you like. And we need, what is it? 1/4 cup also. Again, we're just gonna shitterine. Excuse the expression. That looks about a 1/4 cup. I like the mustardy flavor too. It adds a lot of, okay, a little bit more. Like I said, I don't measure very well. I'm showing you all of my cooking flaws. This is so like revealing and vulnerable right now. This is one of my favorite ingredients. It's nutritional yeast. And it's got tons of vitamin B12. So if you are on a whole plant-based diet and you don't eat animal products, you do need to worry about B12. That is the only nutrient we can't get from plants. And that's because the only reason we get it in animal products is because it's a microorganism makes it in the soil and the animals consume it and it becomes part of the flesh and that's what you eat. But we can't get that from the plants directly because we wash our produce. So if you want to eat your produce a little bit dirty, then you might be getting your B12, but I don't recommend anyone risk that because it's not worth having neurological deficiency. And I recommend everyone that's a responsible herbivore to make sure you're getting either fortified nutritional yeast, which has B12, or fortified plant-based milks, or take a supplement. That's the only supplement that you need unless you have a deficiency. Okay, so this was about a 1/4 cup again. Sometimes I add more because it adds a really cheesy flavor, and that's why I love it so much. And, okay. We need our amino acids again. And again, this same thing can be, I'm gonna lower this heat here. How are we doing? Soup is good. Stuffing is good, but nobody cares because we already have our stuffing stuff. But I don't want it to burn anyway. So don't mind me. This is what we're eating later. So excited. Okay, I'm gonna let that cook for a few more minutes. And then we need this about how much? 2 tablespoons, I think. Yes, about 2-3 tablespoons, so it's about 2 tablespoons. And then the maple syrup again, this adds a real sweet flavor. So you get the sweet, the salty, the spicy from the mustard, about 2 tablespoons. I don't like it too sweet. And then some water. So I'm gonna get some cold water so it doesn't get too hot for my salad. And this is the water that I drink. Haven't tested it, but basically water, bottled water, all kinds of water has all sorts of different issues. So I'd rather just eat whole foods and try to eliminate the toxins as much as possible, eat organic when possible, and it's impossible to avoid all toxins in your life. It's just impossible. You have to go in a bubble, which sometimes it would be nice to do, but we can't always do that. Is that everything? Let me just confirm that's everything. Yes, I think we've got it all. Okay, we're gonna blend in our magic Vitamix. Done, dressing. And okay, so when I usually make this, I don't pour it on my salad because I'm not gonna eat it all. I save it for the week. So I make this like twice a week now. And I will put my salad in my bowl and I'll pour some on top and then I put the rest in a jar. I just keep a jar and I fill it up and then I use it throughout the week until I need to make more because I use it, I love this stuff so much. So, fancy camera trick. We already have our salad, but the reason I did this, not to not show you how to make a salad, but any salad is great. Whatever vegetables you like, stick them all together in a salad. It's so you could put whatever you want. I happen to find, I make different salads throughout the week, whatever I feel like. I usually make a salad about twice a week. This one is just some chopped kale, and it's actually a mix that came already made. I have this at my market locally, and they put it's a little bit of red cabbage and some shredded carrots, and that's it. So I mix it, I washed it, put it in there, and I put a can of chickpeas because I love beans. I love beans, and they're so healthy, and they're so filling, and they're so good. Look, beans and beans. I love my beans. Okay, so because we're all going to eat this together, I'm going to show you how to you could use the whole recipe. You don't even need all of it. But again, to your taste. Again, nothing perfect. What do you like? Eat what you like. How much of it you like.
Irma would like to know where to buy nutritional yeast.
Okay, good question. You can get it at the health food stores. Sometimes you can get it in the bins, the bulk bins. But I'll show you mine. I use this one. And no, they're not sponsoring me, but this is Cal Nutritional Yeast Flakes. And you can see, can you see? They're just these, and it smells like cheesiness, but light and not offensive. It's so good. And it's gluten-free. Oh, Latte likes them too. Okay, so we're gonna toss the salad over here. I'm just going to lightly just get the dressing mixed in. You don't want clumps of it, although, I don't know, this is really good dressing. I hope you guys have to report back to me. Let me know if you love this as much as I do. I'm like hooked on this. I make this all the time. Okay. All right. however you like it, but voila, our salad is ready. Did I get, yes, okay, so guess what? Final recipe, we are going to make the chocolate chip muffins. So now what these were in your handy dandy Forks Over Knives book, which you can get on forksoverknives.com for 15% off today. But I have to say that you could also get this for 15% off. In this, I have the blueberry blueberry oat muffins or something like that. And literally the only difference between those and what I'm about to show you is 2 ingredients. Instead of the sweet potato puree, I'm going to use pumpkin puree for the holidays. And instead of the blueberries, I'm going to use chocolate chips. Okay, chocolate chips, yes, somewhat processed. And by the way, this is the only processing that I got the grain sweetened chocolate chip, so there's no dairy products. It's as least sweetened as you can get for a chocolate chip, but it acts like a chocolate chip. It's sweet, it's goopy, it's delicious, and the kids will love them. And hey, they're getting their pumpkin, in a muffin, so it's cool. Okay, thank you, Robbie. Good sous chef. I even got some festive silicone muffin tins. Okay, so we start off, the best way to replace eggs and fat and oil is pureed fruit. It makes such amazing, these muffins are so moist, you won't believe it. You won't believe there's no oil in them. Everyone says, no way, but way, it's really good. Okay, so, in the recipe it says 1 banana, but sometimes I have to admit I use 2. Just depends on the size and it depends on, I don't know. You could really get away with 1, but I don't know why. I think I like 2 sometimes, I don't know. Again, imperfect science, not a chef. I should have a little thing down below. Don't try this at home, or try it at home and report back. Okay, so I'm gonna use a fork to smush it. I'm sure they have much better tools for this, but I don't really know. I guess I could use a masher or something. But I'm just smashing away. Does anybody have any questions while I have to mash? Oh, by the way, you can use, instead of if there's no questions, you could use any kind of, like this is more of a pureed fruit too, the pumpkin, and the sweet potato puree, and you could use all kinds of fruits, prunes, you could cook them. In fact, Beverly has some great recipes in the Complete Eaties Guide to Gluten-Free Vegan Cooking using dried fruit as replacements. They're incredible. Okay, I'm smashing. Any questions? No? Okay, I'm just going to continue mashing my bananas. I'm just answering all your questions without you having to ask me, huh? Okay, well, that's okay. I bet you guys are all at home trying all these recipes already. You couldn't wait, huh? I can't wait to eat them. All right, so it's almost perfectly mashed. You do have one?
Question. Is there an ideal ratio of greens to legumes to whole grains to fruits to seeds and nuts?
Okay, I'm not an accountant, and I'm also not a good dietitian because most dietitians count everything. We count how many milligrams of that and how many grams of that, and I just don't do that. So no, I mean eat whatever you like. Just eat a variety. Make sure you're getting a variety. I like the plate, and actually I have a new plate. The cover of my book is getting changed for the 3rd time. We're going into the 5th printing in 3 months, so thanks all you guys for supporting me out there. But on our 5th printing, we're gonna have the revised plate that the woman I worked with, Sherry Nestorowicz, did my pyramid, but now that the pyramid is out and the plate is in, it's more similar to the PCRM Power Plate. And it's about, if you look at the plate, it's about, I wish I had a picture of it. Well, I kind of do. This is kind of a version of it. It's basically like a quarter of each. Like you want to have half of your plate as fruits and vegetables, and then a quarter whole grains and a quarter legumes, and then you want to have like your nuts and seeds and whole fats and high-fat plant-based, fortified plant-based milks as kind of accessories, if you will. So my new plate's going to have some little additions, and it'll be really cool. I can't wait for you guys to see it. I don't know when that's going to be out. Okay, so I think I'm just about mashed. Doesn't have to be perfect. How many times am I going to say that right? Sorry. Imagine my kids, what they have to listen to me say over and over again. Okay, so now I'm going to open up the pumpkin, if I could find my, pumpkin can opener. And any pumpkin, mashed pumpkin is fine. Make sure you don't get the pumpkin pie mix, because that's complete with sugar and all this other stuff that we don't want. We just want the pure pumpkin. Should get an actual spoon, huh?
Michelle Steele is allergic to tahini and wants to know if there's any substitutes.
Nut butter, almond butter, peanut butter, any of those nut butters will act exactly the same, and they're really good. Okay, I think our stuffing is done. All right, scooping out So it's just adding to the moisture because it's more pureed fruit, right? There's also, I mean, look at how, oops, the orange represents all these carotenoids, like all of these beautiful shades of nature's nutrition right there. And I don't know how many milligrams or how much, but I know that it's good for you. And it tastes good. And it's a good way to get your vegetables, right? In a muffin with chocolate. Sign me up. Okay, so I'm just gonna kind of mix loosely. You don't wanna, I learned this in grad school too, in my food science class, that you don't wanna overmix a muffin because, in fact, my teacher, Dr. Smith, my first class, this is how I learned how to spell the word dietitian. So you know how most people spell it with a C? Well, I spelled it with a C because most people spell it with a C. So I had a test, and one of the questions was, there's 2 questions that I'll never forget, so she really got in my brain. One was, how do you spell dietitian? And I put the C, and I found out I got it wrong. It was the T. So now I will never forget. It's D-I-E-T-I-T-I-N. And then I also learned that you should never overmix your muffin mix because it will get tunnels in it. Did you know that? Yeah. So I learned that in grad school. Okay, so we've mixed that. Now I'm going to add, let me get to my handy-dandy recipe over here, a 1/4 cup of back to the maple syrup. And I don't usually use this much maple syrup. I don't usually use this much sweetener. And this might be too sweet for me, but I used to love dessert. And I don't know what happened to me. I lost my sweet tooth completely without trying. Honestly, I used to be the biggest sweet tooth. Ask anyone that knew me as a kid. I used to love chocolate chip cookies. Like me and my sister would always bake chocolate chip cookies all the time. And I would eat as many as I could and feel really sick. And now I make them like this where they're healthy and I just don't even want them. I'd rather have more of that dressing and that salad. Literally changed without trying. I think I'm going back to those baby taste buds. I don't know. All right, so we got that. And now, oh, vanilla. Where's my vanilla? Here's vanilla. Okay. So, I had it out. Well, I have 2. So I get the alcohol-free, pure vanilla extract and about a tablespoon or a little more. Vanilla adds a good flavor. I like vanilla. Okay, and now we're going to go to the dry ingredients. So now most people, technically like chefs, would do it in a separate bowl and you should probably mix it better and make it all, but I don't because I don't like to wash dishes either. I'm literally telling you all of my secrets. This is really embarrassing. I know this is all gonna bite me later, but I don't like to wash dishes, so I always try to put everything in one dish or one pot and you could tell, I just try to throw everything together. Somehow it comes out pretty good. You guys could probably make it a lot nicer if you mix it separately. And here's my flour. So this is 2 cups of, in the recipe it says oat flour, but this time I didn't have oat flour, so I just used a gluten-free baking blend. And Beverly came up with, I think we called it Beverly's Baking Blend, a really good gluten-free baking blend that you can make yourself at home for less money. So this is 2 cups of that. And again, a chef would not be using a liquid measuring cup for a dry, so excuse me. And I'm gonna do all the dry at the same time. So we've got half a teaspoon of baking soda, half a teaspoon of baking powder, and a half a teaspoon of salt. Now you'll notice that there's a half a teaspoon salt in this entire meal. The only salt I've added in, and that's for 12 muffins. So this is a very low sodium meal. Except of course we're getting some salt, or probably a lot of salt in here, and you can get a sodium-free mustard if you have high blood pressure or any kidney problems. But I don't like to add salt to most things. And now we've got some spices. What did I do with my here they are. Here is a teaspoon of cinnamon. I usually do a little bit more. Should have known the cinnamon because love cinnamon. And half a teaspoon of nutmeg and then a 1/4 teaspoon of ginger. Okay, throw that in there. And that's that. That's it. So now I'm going to gently mix my muffins without making it too mixed so I get those tunnels, Dr. Smith. See, I remember from many years ago, or what, last year, because I'm only 24, wait. So I'm just gonna gently, you just wanna basically make sure that the flour is mixed and it's soft and it's not clumpy, but not they say it's called over mixing. Okay, and here, by the way, you could check out my grain sweetened chocolate chips while I'm gently mixing. If you guys, these are Sunspire grain sweetened, so it's okay. So by the way, this is made with barley. So if you are gluten-free, do not use these. They have gluten in them. Barley is one of the gluten-containing grains. But I'm allergic to wheat, not gluten, so I'm going to use them.
What do you think about steaming things in the microwave?
Good question. It's fine. I mean, again, you have to weigh and balance your life. And, I don't have the perfect water probably, and, I don't know if microwaving supposedly has some of this irradiation, but if you're not using it only and you're cooking, you're not always using the microwave. I don't think the research has shown that it's really harmful to use a microwave. So if you can steam your vegetables like that and it works for you, then good for you because you're eating your vegetables. And any way you can get your vegetables that's easy and you like it, you go. That's golden. I love it. So I find no excuse to not eat your vegetables, even if they're not organic. Okay, it feels like I'm over mixing my muffins, but it's not blending properly. Maybe because I'm thinking too much about the microwave. Okay, almost there. So I just want to make sure I don't see any of the flour. You know, I want to make sure it's nice and blended. And it gets kind of this weird consistency before I stick it in the muffin pans, or like, it's almost like it balls up a little bit, kind of sticky-ish. Okay, almost there. And the last step is simply adding the chocolate chips, and then we're going to bake them. And I'm actually going to turn down the oven because it's supposed to be at 350, I believe. Oh no, 375, never mind. Sometimes I used to do them at 350, but it doesn't really matter. Okay, and then I'm going to check on my soup. It's fine. And we're going to add the chocolate chips. Final step. Excuse my mess. I have to reveal some stuff, but not my messy drawers. Okay, I'm just going to put the whole thing. If you like them less chocolatey, use less. If you like them more chocolatey, use the whole thing. I don't know if you want to use more because it's going to be really chocolatey already. And it gets really melty in the oven. And when my old chocolate taste buds would have gone crazy for these. And I like them. I mean, I really love this recipe, but I just don't crave this stuff anymore. I'd rather have kale. Is that weird? I know it's really weird. Never in a million years would I thought I would have said that. Okay, you could use you could put this in a cake. You could make this as a cake. And actually in my Complete Eating's Guide to Plant-Based Nutrition, I do have a very similar recipe made in a cake pan. But this is, for the holiday, we're gonna make them into pumpkins and leaves. And this is silicone. So what's really neat about this is when it's done, you can literally just pop them right out and they don't stick. It's amazing. And they make these in every size, shape, and here, I'll show you. I have a few. I know Chef AJ has a whole bunch of other cool ones like hearts and flowers, but I have like this kind and muffins. And this one kind of looks funny, and I haven't even used it that much, but it's a, what's it called? A loaf pan. Again, excuse my messy drawers. Hey, as long as it goes in. Okay, so now we're gonna scoop them. And you don't wanna get them too high because you wanna make sure when it comes out, you see the actual patterns. So if it gets too high, it gets kind of bubbles up, and the pattern is at the bottom. So you wanna fill them up about halfway. All right. Well, I'm not gonna go through this whole thing because I cheated again. Yes, I did. And trick of the camera. Here they are, the finished product. Little pumpkins, chocolate chip muffin pumpkins, and chocolate chip pumpkin leaves. Done. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to plate. We'll make a plate of all of our food all together. And we made our whole Thanksgiving. Has it been an hour yet? Oh, it's been over an hour. Okay.
Brian from Santa Monica would like to know your thoughts on portion control.
Cool. That's a very good question. Here's my answer, and I have a really good answer, I think, for this. The key to reaching your ideal body weight without ever having to think about it, without making yourself sick, the best answer lies within. Eat when you're hungry, like truly hungry, not just because the food is available, but eat when you're hungry, stop when you feel good. That's it. It's so simple. And we've lost all touch with our bodies and what we need. And we're listening to these things. You know, I've been on every diet, and it's like I've been taught to eat every 2 hours and make sure you get the protein here and make this. But it's not true. It's really like your body knows what it needs. And when you're hungry, it'll tell you. And then eat whole plant foods and stop before you're full. And that's portion control for me. No counting, no calculating, no weighing, no measuring. I'm over that. And it's so much easier and it's so much freer. And you get to eat these yummy foods when you're hungry. That's my answer. It's not as technical as most would say. Okay, do we have time to plate? Yes? Okay, sous chef, thank you. So, again, not a chef, but we're gonna do our best. I need they're over here. So we're gonna put all of our, excuse my messy kitchen. I guess we should start with our squash, yeah? That's the centerpiece. Okay, I'm gonna pick the one that came out the best. I like this guy right here. I'm gonna put him right on top of my pretty flour. Thank you. Okay. Okay, so that's it. So I'm gonna put some salad. You know, some people like to eat it in courses, and that's great. If you guys like to eat it, you know, appetizer, entree, dessert, that's great. I like to put everything, except for the dessert. I like to eat everything all together. I like blending all my foods together. I don't know why, I learned that from my Israeli mother-in-law. She taught me how to do that. And then we have our relish. Look at the color. Clean, oh, here, we'll use this. So get some red here. Isn't that pretty? Look how vibrant that is. By the way, it lasts because I made it a couple days ago and it was still good today. Not this one, but the last version. That's kind of a lot. Well, listen to your body, like I said. And then some, let's test this. I do burn myself a lot too, which is what I need to go to chef school for. Don't tell my mom how sloppy I am in the kitchen. Okay. And Chef Beverly, now you see how sloppy I am in the kitchen. This is why you've taught me so much. And that's it. And some Tempe. Okay. See? Color, texture, flavors. I wish you guys could taste it. Well, you can if you make it at home. And then, get my soup ladle here. Trick the camera, trick the camera. Okay, I'm just gonna scoop a big fat bowl of soup because it's always good to start your meal with soup and salad. This is so warming and hearty. And there you go. Whole food, plant-based Thanksgiving. 1 hour and 15 minutes. So just remember, I just want to remind you that for the next 2 days, if you go to www.forksoverknives.com, you can get 15% off of all the products. And just remember to use the coupon code LIVE15, LIVE15. And thank you so much for joining me tonight in all my craziness in my kitchen. And I wish you all a very healthy and happy Thanksgiving. See you next time.